Hello, this is Joe Glines, and I'm going to demonstrate here a macro that I use day in, day out, probably hundreds of times a day, and it's a little, seems confusing at first, but once you adopt it, it'll save you a lot of time and frustration, especially if you work with colleagues or on different computers or anything where your path and folders will possibly change. It can save you an enormous amount of time. So the first one I'm going to demonstrate is just how to set your path by using a macro. And so in this case, this is just a normal actual syntax for opening a data file. And so I have a file here called example.sav. It's in my it's on my desktop folder under Windows Custom. Now when I run this, it opens the data file. Okay, but let's say I define a macro called path. Okay, that's the name of my macro. It doesn't take any tokens or any parameters. Okay, all it does is it has this text in here, which is the path to the folder of where I'm borrowing from up above. So, and then so this is the begin, define, end defined for my path macro. I'm going to run it, and now I've run it, but I need to actually call it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my syntax from the first one, and I'm going to put in the path, right, which is this name right here, and put the plus, which in SPSS concatenates things, and I'm going to delete this stuff. Now, when I run this, as far as SPSS sees it, when I run this command, because I've already defined path as this, it's going to concatenate the two and put them together. So when I, just to demonstrate, let me make sure I get rid of that. Now when I run it, see how it goes and it still opens that data file. That's because it's concatenating this with this part, and it just runs the get file command. So that's all said and good. So what are the benefits of that? Well, one is obviously if you move where you've saved your files, it's very easy, because usually I have hundreds, if not thousands, of lines of code where I'm opening and saving the data file, opening it, tweaking it some more, creating new variables, customizing it, and then saving it. Well, if you've moved the directory and where that is, you got to do a lot of search replace, make sure you get them all correct, make sure everything's the same. This, you can set it once at the very beginning. Right? Or let's say you're working with a colleague who doesn't have the folder saved in the same place. This makes it really easy to say all you have to do is change your path here, and then everything will work. It works great. So that saves a lot of time. What I've done though, so which is very helpful. You can use it for getting data and saving it. But what I've done is I've created two macros that I use with my path macro, and one is the get, oh sorry, I guess I start off first with save. So the save macro is just SAV, right? And there is one token, and it's basically the name of the file, right? So maybe I should call it file name instead of just file, but I like keeping things short. And what I've done here is I say, okay, it has one line that says save out file equals, and now notice I'm referencing path. Well, path is already defined in my other macro call, because I always use the two in conjunction with each other. So it takes the path from the other time where I've defined it, and then pipes in whatever file name I've told it to. But this is the really, to me, cool part. It took me a little while to get used to, but I've removed the .sav from my file extension. Well, I'm sorry, from the file name, so it no longer has the extension. So I can very easily say right here, right, once I've called this, I don't remember if I already have, so let me call it, make sure it's defined. And again, let me close this. Now, when I run this, I'm going to say get, and so that is, and I swapped them out. So, and since I just deleted the file, I don't want to save it. So sorry. Let me switch gears here. Oh, I have a save, but let's do this. I was creating this as an example, so my bad. I swapped the two, put them in the wrong spots. This is the example for get. This is the example for save. And let me go ahead and because I don't really care about this data file. So I've just added one variable in whatever this is. And now when I call, this is the save macro. When I save this, and I am going to rename it as example 2. Okay. Now when I run this, it's going to say use the save command put in the path, the file name, and then append SAV. Notice how I don't have an SAV here, right? So now, when I run this, sorry, you can't see it there, but over here, it just saved that file in that folder. And up here, you can see the file name has changed, right? So now I actually just saved that file in that folder. And let's say actually I wanted to open that file. So now I'll use my get command instead of, well, I can still use the example, and then we can switch it and show you the other one. But sorry about the confusion. So in my get command, right, I basically do the same thing. It's just a little bit more stuff I've added into it because of the newer versions of SPSS. You want to have this line of code in there to make sure that it's once you've opened it, that it's the one, your active data file that you're working with. So I basically say, here's my get, define my get macro, take a token, and then combine the path with the file, and again, append the .sav, so I don't have to worry about my extensions, and then tell it, hey, run this one, so make sure it's the active one. And then I had to include execute because I wanted to show the number of rows in the data file. And you know what? While I say that, let me add a few more to this. And go save that real quick. So, and then it says up. Set error on. Sorry, I guess I should have had this one up in here. Oh, I know why. This is all in one macro call. Sorry. I have set error off and on in my main one. The ones at the very beginning, was the end, but I run them sequentially, so I just need it once. But since I'm breaking these up, it's better to have them in each one. So anyway, so here's my defined the get, defined end. So it's going to keep going. So it shows the end. It shows me how many rows are in there, and then it turns back on the error messages, which I had turned off up here. So I'm going to define this. Now I just defined it. And now when I say, actually, because I just, well, we'll just pull in the example. So this is going to say get file equals example. Again, notice no .sav, right? So when I call this, it just opened the example data file. Notice how it actually ran, and let me clear all this so you can see it again. I'm gonna rerun it. Notice it tells me how many number of rows there are, what's the n is for my data file, which is just, to me, hey, it helps me make sure I open the right data file, and it usually, unless you're dealing with millions and millions of rows, takes just about a second. So that is how to call it. Now let's say, and I should have remembered the name, I call that examp2. So let me duplicate this row, and I'm going to say examp2. And since it's in the same folder, the path will still work. And now when I run this, notice it pulled this in. I didn't save it before, so it did have an issue with that. But now there's that. And let's say I had I said now, okay, let me come down here. And I'm gonna say compute equals 5, and we'll run that. All right, now I just created a variable for every row. Of course, there's just one row. And now I'm going to say, oh, you know what? I want to save this as. So the other thing is, well, and I'll show you down here. But so save as examp3, or all right, 4. Who cares? And run that, and you'll notice the name of my file up here changed right in that local directory. It's changing every time I do this. But what I also did was, I made it where I can use my get and save, and notice how similar they are, right? So if I already called one to get it, all I have to do is change the first 3 letters from get to SAV to save, and then I have an example here. So if I wanted to, like I can duplicate this line, change this to SAV, and then append a number here, and it'll automatically everything works because it borrowed what was up above. All the other parameters are the same, and again, this just saves an amazing amount of work, and that's it. But believe me, it takes a little bit getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's awesome. Thank you.